Hi, good afternoon, folks. In this video, let's talk about Ryan Miller, what he meant to the Sabres. He's decided to hang him up. Coming up. All right, I want to do a little video on Ryan Miller because Ryan Miller to me is still a Sabres icon, you know, and I was not impressed when we moved him at the time, but hey, look, it is the business, you know. But I want to go over Ryan Miller's numbers and just some thoughts on Ryan's career. So 11 years in Buffalo, 9 as a starter. He had 15 games, then I believe he had 3, and then he was a starter till he was moved. 540 games played. 284 wins, 186 losses. The ties overtimes bracket, 57. Now, a .916 save percentage, career save percentage in Buffalo. A goals against of 2.58, 28 shutouts. He won the Vezina in 2010. He was the first team All-Star that year as well. And he was 4th in Hart voting that year as well. And of course, a lot of you folks remember him. Of course, me being Canadian, I remembered he was the one thing I believe that was in the way of Canada winning the gold in that 2010 was Ryan Miller. And he was brilliant in that tournament. And it was hard to cheer against him, to be honest. It really was. And to be cheering for Sidney Crosby, and it was just weird, but it is what it is, right? When we're in international tournaments, that's just normal for all of us. So my thoughts on Ryan Miller, you know, I remember him in 2006, mostly when he was coming up. And Marty Biron was a good goalie, but he wasn't panning out what we had hoped, I believe, Biron at the time. He wasn't really panning out into that superstar goalie that we thought we drafted. He was good. Biron had a decent career for sure. There's always an element missing, and I found that Ryan Miller had that element. He just came in and kind of took over the reins. And folks, we should have won the Stanley Cup in 2006. We had the goaltending too with Ryan Miller. I mean, his goaltending was phenomenal. That was some of the best playoff goaltending in Buffalo Sabres history in that playoffs. And we were up against powerhouses, let's face it, we were. That Ottawa team, to beat them in 5 without Timmy, you know, I'm just saying. I mean, here we are starting to hit the injury bug, and we took out the heavily favored Senators in 5 games, mostly because of Ryan Miller in Game 2, you might recall. I mean, he completely robbed them in Game 2, completely robbed them. Remember, we won 7-6 the first game in the overtime? And then Game 2 went into overtime. No, it was 1-0. I believe it was 1-0, right? And we went in, correct me if I'm wrong though, but I'm pretty sure it was 1-0. Anyway, in that game, I forget what the shots were, but it was crazy. They just dominated us all game, but they couldn't score. And Miller turned the tide of that series, single-handedly, you know, because the Sabres were nowhere in that game, nowhere. They left them out to dry basically for 60 minutes. It was ridiculous. You know, I'm always going to have fond memories of, I'm going to do a video eventually on his numbers and everything. I'm going to do it today, but no, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till his retirement's official. And, when we have the off season, we'll look back at Ryan Miller's career because he's had a great career. You know, folks, I looked at Luongo's career numbers and Miller's because they kind of had similar careers, you know. And if you look, I had his career goals against was 2. Sorry, let me get this again. I should have kept this in my hand. Okay, 258, and I believe Luongo was something like 247 or something. Or it was a goal. Anyway, it was just crazy how similar their numbers are. If you go look at their career numbers, and these are excellent numbers, you know. Miller had excellent numbers on Buffalo for a long time, and he looked outstanding. My memory of Miller is always going to be how strong he always closed out his seasons. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I remember so often how he would, as the season started to come towards the end, Miller's game would elevate. And that's always how I'll remember him. I remember him closing God, the last 20 games, his save percentage would be like .945 or something. It was insane. You know, how he would close out his seasons sometimes and be ready. And, you know, sadly, we just didn't have the team anymore like we had before, you know, because we had this owner named Golisano who was too damn cheap to lock in these guys, you know, and owners, you know. So, you know, I personally want to thank Ryan Miller for the memories he gave me as a fan, because I consider him the second greatest goalie in Buffalo Sabres history. I do. The only goalie I can think of better than him in all the years I followed the Sabres is Dominik Hasek. And, you know, that's pretty stiff competition to beat out Dominik Hasek, but you know what I mean. So wearing the GOAT today is kind of proper, because Miller wore the GOAT his career, and I hate to see him retire. You know, bugs me. I know he hasn't played on the Sabres in years. It still bugs me. I like knowing he was still around playing, and I was always a fan. You know, I'd always check up on him at the end of the year, see how he did, and he's always going to be one of the boys, no matter what. You know, the Sabres need, okay, and I'm going to lobby for this. They need to retire Ryan Miller's numbers. His number has to be up in the rafters. It does. I firmly believe that. You know, Ryan Miller should be among the elite Sabres in history that have their number retired. And this is just where this fan stands. I'm not sure how some of you feel about that, but too many great memories, too many deep playoff runs, well, back-to-back conference finals, and you know, because of this great goaltending we had, not just great team, we had great goaltending with that great team, you know. And it's hard to say goodbye to Ryan. I don't know, it's weird. It's one of those days. I'm kind of sad. I just am. Doesn't feel good that knowing that, you know, my app went off and I'm like, oh, who's goaltending tonight? And I see Ryan Miller, former Buffalo Sabre Ryan Miller, announces his retirement. I'm like, God, really? You know, but hey, he's 40, you know, and I'm happy for him. He's getting out with his health, and he can, you know, he doesn't have any permanent injuries that are going to wreck the rest of his life. And I hope one day, and this is on my closing thoughts with Ryan, I hope one day that Ryan Miller becomes part of an organization, hopefully the Sabres, you know, as a goalie coach or something, becomes part of an organization that wins a Stanley Cup, and he's part of it. I'll tell you what, if the Sabres ever win a Stanley Cup, I sure as hell hope, okay, I hope Ryan Miller is inside our organization somehow, so he can come down on the ice that night and hoist the cup too. That's just kind of a vision I have that I'd love to see, you know? Just how I feel. There's too many great Sabres in history, including the French Connection, that just never got to do it, you know? And Ryan Miller is kind of among one of those now that just never got to win a Stanley Cup in his career. And I find it is, you know, what did Gretzky say about it? It's what makes the Stanley Cup so special is that he wishes everybody could win it and feel the elation of winning a Stanley Cup, but what makes it so special is not everybody gets to, right? And on that note, I'm going to leave that there and just thank Ryan for his career, you know, his numbers and his energy and him coming out. I'll never forget. The vision I'll close with Ryan Miller actually will be his pregame, because I went to a lot of games in Buffalo back then, and him coming out before the game and the Ken Dryden stance, and he stared down the ice for about 15 minutes, and everybody, all the Buffalo fans would just be quiet and leave him alone and let him get in the zone, you know? And those are great memories for me. So the memories are clear, intact, permanent, and I thank Ryan Miller for the great memories he left me as a Buffalo Sabres fan, and wish him well in his retirement. And hopefully we'll see you in the game again one day, Ryan, in some other capacity. And on that note, folks, I'm going to leave it there. I got to do another video for you guys about the beloved Boston Bruins tonight. Have a good one, folks.